Okay guys, so today I'm gonna teach you how to sculpt a hand. So I'm starting from a cube instead of a sphere, because a cube more represent the shape of a hand. And make sure that you're sculpting without symmetry, because a hand ain't symmetrical, right? Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is just to like dynamesh this so I get a little bit more better topology. And now the first thing I'm gonna do is to start adding the curvature of the hand, because the hand is a little bit curved. It's not this like it's not perfectly straight. It's actually a curve. And I'm gonna do like the left hand. So I'm just gonna look at my hand and just take this part down here for the thumb. Then we gotta add the wrist, or the wrist part. Just gonna drag it out like this. And then we can just get a little bit bigger, something like this. And I'm just gonna smooth all of this out. Now really quickly, if I can find it, something like this, just adding a little bit of topology here, and then just trim down the sides like this. So I'm just creating a very basic shape for a hand to begin with, and then here I also like to take these sides down, something like this. And I ain't I don't create super good hands, but I can show you some tips and tricks that I personally am using to create my hands, you know. Then here we also have a curve. It's not this perfect straight line, it's a curve, and I want this to be like square, pretty square, at least for a male hand. So something like this, and here we have like the thumb that's gonna go out on this side. And here we actually want this see this sharp line that goes on a side like this. So really make sure that you nail that line here, as you can see. And here just adding a lot of shapes. Here we're gonna make this very small but roundish shape. Just gonna add a little bit of life to it. Just trying to add these shapes. I always think it's very hard to create a hand from the beginning. I'm usually just starting with a base. So, and then right here, I have this shape. It goes downwards like this. Downwards to this outer shape. So here's just muscles. This is just muscle. But the hand don't have too much muscle, but this is usually the most important muscle, if you ask me, when I'm sculpting. And then the muscle that goes from here all the way like this. I'm just thinking about these muscles a little bit at least. And then here just adding the shape to the side like this. Something like this, so it's a lot of shapes, but not too over exaggerated, because it's gonna look very fake. Something like this, I would say, at least. Yeah, something like this. And we can make the wrist a little bit thinner, because the wrist is usually not this thick. Something more like this should work pretty well. Gonna make this a little bit bump upwards like this, so it goes more like boo-doo-doo. Something like this. Hope you understand what I mean, guys. Yeah, and something like this. And here now, you're just gonna add this angle here. Yeah, but key to making hands is looking at the reference. Reference is so important. So make sure that you're looking at a ton of reference. Like here, I can see how this all is supposed to be a little bit bigger, something like this. And here it actually goes upwards, like this. It's like this little bit of triangle here. So not like a straight rectangle like this, but a little bit of curvature. Am I usually adding? And then here, I'm just gonna make sure that I tell you guys this right, yeah. So right here, just adding this line, like this tendon right here. There's a lot of tendons in the arm here, but there's one here that's pronounced a little bit extra. I'm just gonna mark that in like this. Yeah, so something like this looks pretty fine, I would say. Then here, gotta add this, like, how do I say it, like this curve here, not curve, but like, yeah, this plane here, because the fingers actually are further back here than they are here, because they are on this like angle. So it's really important that you create that angle. And I'm usually creating from the beginning. When I have this angle, then I can very easily drag out the fingers. So just gonna drag them out one at a time. So let's do this. So when I'm dragging out the fingers, just using a normal mask pen, kind of like this, and then just dragging them out like this. Okay, so the finger now. Yeah, so just gonna make a real simple finger. Gonna make it a little bit square. It's pretty square already, so we don't need to fix too much of that. Just gonna make sure that it's like filled on all sides like this. You can see here how it's supposed to go up with the knuckle here, then downwards, and we're gonna have the nail right here. So we're just gonna start with adding all of these like base shapes, so I know where everything is supposed to be. So the knuckle right here, and then the other knuckle right there, but we don't want it this over exaggerated. But I just like to really quickly create them. And this area to this knuckle is twice the amount of length till this knuckle, and then twice the amount of length to the end of this knuckle. So this should actually be a little bit more forward, something like this. Okay, and here then we are gonna really quickly create something like this. Should work. Having this angle here really helps. Pushing this upwards and this a little bit downwards, so it looks more like a finger. Then something like this. Then here we're gonna make sure that the finger actually works. Somewhat like this. Okay, so it's gonna try to make this into a nice finger. Something like this, just adding a little bit more thickness. Adding the nail shape, and then dragging it forward so it gets this nice shape here. Instead of this, they get this like sharpness right here. Really is gonna help. Then it needs the sharpness towards end of the hand, like not end of the hand, end of the finger, like this, something like this. And now we just real quickly just gonna indicate these planes at the side right here. And now nobody has their fingers this like straight, so we gotta have to bend it a little bit to make this work. So I'm not gonna bend it too much, I'm just gonna bend it tiny bit. Super tiny bit. Something like this. Just so it's a little bit easier to work with. From like a finger point of view, you know? A little bit easier to sculpt. So here we're gonna add this thickness towards the knuckle. Here we're gonna need to have this angle here. And then right here, this is gonna be a little bit smaller. Just going to look right here. Yeah, because that looks pretty much as a finger. Just at the side here, we're gonna make it a little bit more square, because that's important. And then here at the knuckle, at this knuckle, I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker. And here is just gonna be like the same amount of thickness as the rest of the finger. Yeah, something like this. Super nice, yeah. So now I'm just gonna very quickly indicate these like lines here. So to indicate these lines, here is just a simple line, like so. And then here, people usually just indicate a line like this, but that's actually incorrect. So here you actually wanna add like 2 lines like this. So you can create this like fold right here. Something like that. And you go upwards like so. Something like that. Maybe just have it a little bit more towards this side. Like that. That should work. That should work. And then here we're gonna have like this knuckly area. Right here as well. And then we're gonna have to align the knuckles with this part. So something like this. You can see here, these align, and this is a little bit forward. So it's this angle. Just need to think about this stuff, guys. Yeah, that's just my dog in the background. Okay. So now let's create a nail. Something like, not something like this. I'm actually gonna start with just adding sharpness right here, so you can indicate the nail to begin with before you actually create the nail, you know. Would recommend to have some more topology for creating a nail, so I'm just gonna add some more, and then just the trim dynamic really quickly just block a shape in, so I know, or the damp standard I mean, just so I know how the basic shape is supposed to look. Something like, that's just a basic shape, indicating it, something like this. And then making sure that it's actually round and not flat, because a flat nail doesn't look realistic. And then just smoothing it out a little bit, so you just have very like easy finger indicated. Then you can sharpen this up as you like. But something like that I feel like is pretty much a super simplistic finger. So now I'm just gonna go and do the other fingers. Okay guys, so now we just place the fingers like this. We still need to fix the thumb and we need to do some like leveling up on this part, but then we have a hand. Nice, right? Yeah, so the thumb, you need to have it on like this angle. Just gonna rotate it a little bit more, because it's actually like very like, yeah, it's on a really like dramatic angle. Just gonna make it, and it's gonna be tilting downwards a little bit, and this like super dramatic angle. It's often more tilted than you think. Gonna have it something like this, and then just gonna fix the proportions. So something like this, making this part a little bit like longer, making it very roundish, and then here thickening it out towards the knuckle here. Something like this. Then from this side, I'm gotta make sure that they all work like pretty nicely together. And I just thickened up all the fingers as well, a little bit. And then here, have this sharp knuckle. And this knuckle is also like supposed to really show. You can see here I'm gonna create this like 90-degree angle. That's super important. That works pretty well as a thumb. It's just not correctly placed. So first thing we're gonna do is just to move this entire thumb like upwards, because the thumb needs to be somewhere around here. Somewhere around here is more like correct. It's pretty much like the correct size, so that's great. Now we're just gonna fix like the palm and stuff like this. So here you want this like triangle, like this triangular shape here. But I don't have it yet, so I just need to add it in. So here, gonna make sure that all the fingers just align nicely together, you know. Because I just duplicated them, because it was the fastest way right now for this tutorial. I would recommend to sculpt every single finger individually so they get some more variation. But you can always go in afterwards and just fix it, right? But something like this, just adding this thickness so it's like this straight line right here. That's super important. No. Not like that. So, and here adding this like, making sure the curvature and is nice and this thickness right here is nice. So the hand needs to be a little bit thicker. So I'm just adding the thickness to the hand that I forgot to add in the beginning. So stupid of me, right? Then here adding this line here. This like muscle or fat pad that goes along the fingers. Something like this. Just really quickly adding the shapes. Really quickly and just indicating how everything is supposed to look. Here just adding this shape on top of here. Making sure this wrinkle that goes from here goes downwards like so. And then we also have this wrinkle that goes from here, this fold, and down to this side. And then we have this like super big fold that just goes towards the other side like so. The thumb still needs a little bit of work, because it should be more something like this. It should be more square, basically. Yes, like adding these square shapes to the thumb and adding this triangle shape that I just talked about. Yeah, you can just see I'm just working all these shapes together. That's just a little bit tricky and a little bit of work, but you'll nail it, guys. Something like this. Now we're just gonna add like a few final touches and we're gonna have a very, very basic hand. First thing I'm gonna do is just to smooth this entire like palm out a little bit. Something like this. Okay, here we gotta just add these shapes a little bit better. And these shapes are not to be over exaggerated, but from this finger here, these three fingers usually connect like this. Then here we have this shape in the middle, goes in between, something like this. And then here of course we have these shapes, and I want to connect them pretty much really like simplistically. Yeah, doesn't look perfect, but does what it needs to do for this like simplistic hand. Of course, you should go in with like and create these lines here. You're really like indicating where everything goes, just to make it look more complete than just these simple shapes. But yeah. Okay, let's go to this shape right here. Yeah, so something like this, just indicating the shapes. Then here we have all of these shapes, but this curvature as well, don't forget about it. This curvature. Something like that. At least think it looks like a cool hand. It's a little rough, but it still works. So something like this, just indicating these folds here now. Just gonna very gently indicate them. Something like that. And down here I'm just gonna indicate these shapes that connect. And remember guys, it's not like this triangle in between the fingers, it's more like this round like area in between, if not even like squares like here. So make sure you have some space in between the fingers. This is just looking at reference and just creating this stuff one by one. Then here just indicating like folds, and they are just like these in 2 lines, not 1 but 2, something like this, something like that. Yeah, super simplistic, right? I think that looks fine out, but just need to drag this shape a little bit more inwards like this. Yeah, this is just a lot of tweaking, guys. This is just a ton and a ton of tweaking. Something like so. Then here, this finger, I'm usually just overlapping the other fingers with the skin right here, and this finger overlapping the little finger. So I'm just creating these few like extra shapes here, just to get a little bit more depth in here. And then the knuckly areas, super important that you create them. Just gonna indicate them really quickly, just so I have them. Something like that. And then here, the tendons all go to the same spot. We have these tendons that goes towards this spot right here. And that goes, of course, the thumb, but the thumb's tendons goes right here. And it's usually like 2 tendons. You can see if I can see it. Yeah. Like 2 lines. I don't know if it's 2 tendons actually, but 2 lines here. Something like this. I'm usually just indicating. And then here, just indicating these tendons. Really subtle, but they're gonna add a little bit of extra. Here, this like bony part, side. Yeah, you can place that way better than what I did here, guys, because we don't get time to really create like the wrist. But I created an arm tutorial, so you can just check it out there. Okay, so over exaggerating some of these shapes right here, making a little bit smaller like nail, and making sure it's pretty like straight line here. And then here, making sure we have this clear indication where the thumb is. This clear indication. Yeah, like creating a hand is like creating an entire like torso, leg, and arms. It's a lot of work and just very tricky. Just adding these like small shapes here to make a little bit more shapes. Yeah, but something like this. then just a few final touches around the thumb, because the thumb area should go a lot higher up like this. Then here we should have this like pad, like more like muscle or fat pad that goes outwards a little bit better than here, of course, covered with a lot of fat and skin. Just gonna make this go a little bit better together, something like so, to just make these shapes. And here's a ton of wrinkles, but we don't have time to go through each and every one. Just gonna add some very simplistic wrinkles. Something like this. Okay, so just don't like the thumb. Give me 2 seconds, guys, to figure this out. Yeah, it's just that I need to indicate these planes more clearly. Where the thumb begins and where the like palm, where the thumbs end and the palms begin. Because now they are kind of like overlapping, and you don't want that. You want it to be pretty clear so you can see what's going on. Yeah, but I think that works fine. Something like so. Just gonna okay. Just gonna do one quick change. Gonna rotate it a little bit differently. And this part, gonna rotate it. That looked way better out. Okay guys, so this was the hand tutorial. Hope you guys liked it. I'll see you next time.